Pulaski County High School quarterback Wiley Cain is currently enjoying a monster senior season and has slowly began to move his name up the record books. For his career, Cain has completed 592 passes for 6,820 yards. In just 6 games so far this season, Cain has completed 140 of his 220 pass attempts for 63.6% for 1,729 yards and has had 16 touchdown passes. And maybe more important than all the above numbers, Wiley Cain has remained healthy and hasn't lost any time due to injuries. In his first ever career start in Pulaski's 2016 season opener, Cain suffered a broken collarbone injury early in the second half, which sidelined him for the next 6 weeks, forcing him to miss 5 games. Last year as a junior, Cain was having another tremendous season when a torn labrum injury against Southwestern forced him to miss Pulaski's final 2 games of the season. So what Wiley Cain has done on his own has been impressive to say the least. But one thing that gets overlooked is the fact that Wiley Cain has had to endure the pressure of his last name along the way. Being the grandson of a legendary coach, John Cain, and being the son of another great quarterback that came from our community, Johnny Cain, it's a tough name and a tall task to try to live up to indeed. And Wiley Cain has lived up to his last name and played for that name with grit, honor, and greatness. And this is his story.
My sophomore year was really hard because I got named the starting quarterback about a month before the season started. And the first game of the season in the third quarter, I was rolling out, escaping from a defensive end, and I broke my collarbone. So it was kind of hard. That's not really how you envision your first start to go in high school. You know, you're looking forward to that day for your entire life, and then you get there, and the first thing you do is break a bone in your body, and it's a pretty painful bone to break. But you know, it was hard because I did realize then that the hardest thing that I've done to this point is stand there and watch my brothers play football and not me, because standing on the sideline, you feel the most useless that you've ever felt before, because you know you can't help but sit there and be like, oh, well, if I'd have been out there, maybe we'd have made this play, or if I'd have been out there, what would I have done there, and stuff like that. And the thoughts running through your head right there is not the best. But thankfully, when I came back, it was like nothing had ever happened, you know. It was like I never left. Came back against Lincoln County and made it all the way to the state championship. You know, state championship wasn't the result we were looking for, but it was still a great season when everyone had written off the Maroons as done because the senior class that had been so great had left, and we showed them that we still had some fight left in us.
Well, it was very frustrating for Wiley early in his career. He dealt with 2 really severe injuries. He had a broken collarbone in his first year as a starter, and caused him to miss, I think, 7 games, maybe 8 games. I'm not for sure, before he was able to come back. And then last year, he injured his shoulder early in the Southwestern game and missed the rest of the season. Had to undergo surgery both times. Went down to see Dr. Pace and get it fixed up. So it was really tough for him to come back. Long, hard, grueling rehab, especially on his throwing arm. The last shoulder injury was his throwing arm. So he's gone through a lot to get back in the position that he's in, just to be able to play football. And it's especially hard for a quarterback who's obviously throwing the ball a lot. You know, for a other position player, maybe, I don't want to say it's easy. It's never easy coming back from a surgery like that and rehabbing, but for a throwing athlete, it makes a little additional toughness to do it. But I'm really proud of Wiley and how hard he works. He's got a great work ethic, and he has never let that deaden his spirits in any way about coming back for his senior year. And he's been very excited about getting back into football.
When I walk around this town, it's like, oh, hey, look, it's John Cain's grandson, or hey, it's Johnny Cain's son. So that is a source of great pride for me, because, you know, I know that everybody knows who my dad is, everybody knows who my granddad is, and that's awesome, because, I mean, their achievements are not to be understated. I mean, my granddad, the winningest coach all time, if I'm not mistaken, still at Somerset. Take him to 4 state championships. My dad played in a state championship as a quarterback, and he made it to UK as a golfer. I mean, it's an amazing thing. You know, it gives me a lot of pride. Yes, there's a little bit of pressure on that, because, you know, sometimes I sit there and I think, well, what if I'm not as good as my dad and my granddad was? What are people going to think? But mostly it's just something that I use as an example because, you know, those are my two heroes in my life, really. Other than my mom, it's my dad and my granddad. You know, I'm always looking and I'm always like, you know, I want to be like them. And so they gave me a great way to follow in their footsteps, and it's always great to have that kind of advice because I come home and my granddad, he always loves coaching me, even though he hasn't been on the field in a while. He's a coach for me, and my dad never misses an opportunity to tell me, you know, what he'd done in that situation or give me a hard time about something he did when he was in high school. And it's the greatest thing to have that support system. So I think the family name is a great thing that I've been able to benefit from mostly.
I mean, look at his family. You know, grandfather played quarterback at UK and was a legendary high school coach in our community for so many years. Excuse me. And then his dad was a great quarterback as well at Somerset. And so, you know, here he comes following in the legacy. He's got a hard road to follow there as well. And then to come in following, as you said, Riley Hall, who was probably the best quarterback we had in our program for a long time. And we've had a great run of quarterbacks over the years, going back to Cole Drawn to, you know, to Chris Muse to Joe Griffiths even before that, Zach Easttown, Riley Hall. It goes on and on, and so there's a legacy there, and Wiley has stepped up into that spotlight and really expanded it in a lot of ways. And it's a pressure situation just because of the position on our team. We're obviously a quarterback-driven offense, so the quarterback has to make plays for us to be successful on the field. The quarterback has to play well if we're going to be successful on the field. And so there's a lot of pressure on him. He's got the ball in his hands every play and got to make good decisions and deliver the ball. And he's not only done it at an all-state level, but he's done it in some spectacular fashion as well to put up the numbers that he's put up. So, you know, the Cain family means a lot to me. We know that his grandfather, John Cain, was my high school coach way back a long time ago at Somerset, and meant a lot to me as a young man. And he's always been a very good mentor for me when I was a young coach, and helping me, being a resource for me to call on. And then it was a special thrill for me, really, when I came to Pulaski County in 1995, and he came over as a head coach, to get to coach on his staff. So I not only got to play as a player in his program, but then coach in his program. So very unique circumstances for me and benefits for me. And then along the line, John Cain Jr., that great quarterback we've already talked about, I had the opportunity to coach a long, long time ago, the first time I ever tried to coach anything, which his grandfather kind of pushed me into, and coach a team that he played on. So I've known the Cains for a long time, and as I said, had a very, very special relationship with the Cain family. And to have Wiley to come up in our program, first of all, I'm thankful that they felt that this is where he needed to be, and that they wanted him with us in our program. And it's been a treat. Wiley's a great kid. He's a lot of fun. He's got a great personality, and we have a lot of fun together. And I know it's hard on him. As a coach, I'm hard on the quarterbacks. I coach the quarterbacks personally, so I'm really hard on them, and I put a lot of pressure on them in practice and in games. And Wiley handles it with ease, and it's been a joy coaching him.